This Zoe is an insurance total loss. It's done 20 something thousand miles, okay? It's, what is it now, 65? It's 10 years old. There is no reason this car should not be on the road for another 10 years, right? It's done 20,000 miles. It's barely been used. It's got a lovely interior, looks like it's hardly ever been sat in. And mechanically, apart from the electrical system on this thing, or no, the high voltage electrical system on this thing, there is nothing wrong with this car. So why do I now own an MGF, of all things? Well, there's a plan. This may be one of my more stupid ideas, but what the hell. So, the MGF, petrol, 1.8 Rover K-Series engine, same as fitted to Land Rover Freelanders, and also the Series 1 and early Series 2 Lotus Elises. I used to race Lotuses, had 4 or 5 of them in my time, know the engines pretty well, and this car, with an MOT, with a cooling issue at the moment, for £200. This is not an accident damaged car. It's got no insurance claim against it or anything like that. 200 quid. Now, CoPart fees, gotta love a fee. So 200 quid, what does that actually become in the real world? 200 quid becomes 430 quid. What I also have is Renault Zoes. I got 2 of them, one here, one over here. Now, the Renault Zoes are problematic. They're broken. It's a bit beyond me to sort them out. I don't know, whatever. I'm kind of writing it off, right, as a failed idea. Jez and EVs, pah. The older ones especially, a bit too much in the way of... Ugh. So, what I'm going to do is take the power from this thing here and put it in this thing here. So let's fire her up. See what we can hear. Interior of this thing, it's got a ripped seats, sort of this tan kind of thing. I mean, to be fair, for a 20-odd-year-old car, it's not too bad. All right, let's fire her up. Show her out again. Yep. Renault Zoe, in my case, can kind of get a charge into it. Motors in the front, batteries underneath it, nothing doing in the rear end. Uh-oh, this will be funny. She's not going to be happy.
Is that?
The plan is to take the engine out of that 1.8 petrol engine, the same as an Elise, and put it in a Renault Zoe!
Rid of something!
You can, I believe, drop the whole rear subframe out of an MGF with the engine, the whole running gear basically, the whole power unit out of this car. So my thinking is take the whole rear end of this and bolt it into that rear end just there. Huh? And then take the motor out of that Zoe. God almighty, this is getting confusing. Take the motor out of that Renault Zoe and stick it in this Renault Zoe. This Renault Zoe has no accident damage or anything like that. I bought it as a parts car without a battery in it, but I think it's got motor failure as well. So what I'm going to do is take the motor and battery out of my accident damaged, but now with an MOT, but has problems charging car with 20,000 miles, but it's a Cat C, whatever, Cat S, yeah, Cat S. Move all that into this car, and I'll have one Renault Zoe, probably with still charging issues or something like that, but you know, whatever. We know the battery swap works and we know that thing drives around. We'll do the engine, we'll do the motor swap as well, because that'll be interesting for as a bit of content. But then what we'll do is take the engine and the internals out of this thing and slap them in the back of that thing. I mean, what could go wrong? Lots could go wrong. Is it going to be possible? Of course it's going to be possible, right? So check out the engine on this thing. Where is it? It's just there. basically, if we draw that sort of a line, that's kind of how far forward it sits, right? So if we take a look at our little Renault ZOE, we could simply bolt in that rear subframe to this Renault ZOE somehow, I'm not really sure how, but whatever. Cut out the rear boot floor, and yeah, we might have to lose the rear seats or do something with the rear seats, whatever. I mean, you're not going to have any more. So what we should end up with, right, if we can get the back of that in the back of this, is we would end up with a mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, 1.8 litre petrol Renault ZOE. What a great send-off for the Renault ZOE. New Renault 5's come along. The end of the Renault ZOEs is nigh. There's no more Renault ZOEs coming out. So they're done. Let's make a really cool petrol-powered one, right? And then, yeah, let's see what a rear-wheel drive mid-engine ZOE goes like. Now, not wanting to get ahead of myself, but obviously if you've got petrol power, you need a petrol tank. So not sure how we're going to do that, but my thinking was, ideally, if we could get it in the front, we could use our little electric recharge to fill up from the petrol pump. That would be awesomeness. So we got two things to do to start with. First of all, it's to take out the battery out of this one, stick it in my parts car over here. The MGF, what we need to do is drop the whole rear subframe off that thing, pull the engine out. We're going to have to keep the little MGF around a little bit because I'm going to need a lot of bits off it to convert into this thing. Thinking specifically things like the gear shift, clocks, dials, things like that, although I'd like to keep some of the Renault stuff, so we'll see how that goes. The Zoe's got a mechanical rear handbrake, so that's straightforward, unlike a lot of more modern cars. So we can use the whole rear end of the MGF. That's the thinking. One slight issue, I think, is, well, it's not an issue, it's kind of the right way round. The MGF rear wheelbase is narrower than the Renault ZOE, which is kind of crazy, right? But that's the thing with electric cars, have all got bigger, right? So thinking is we'll probably have to space the wheels out a little bit on the MGF to get it in there. And obviously the big issue is going to be, I think the MGF is held on by, the rear subframe's held on by 4 or 5 bolts. Clearly, that ain't going to mount straight into a Renault ZOE. We're going to have to get the welder out and sort some way of getting that subframe out of that thing, not the Nissan, out of the MGF over into the little Renault. So the reason this is at CoPart is it's looking a bit empty in here. So if it's empty in here, it's either gone out all over the floor somewhere or it's made its way into here. Which it suspiciously looks like it's not based on that. And that to me looks like oil. So that sounds promising. So we've taken the exhaust off, the little heat shield. That means we can get to these rear bolts that are holding in the subframe at the back. 2 lots of those. We've taken off the handbrake cables. I've actually sliced through the brake cables as well on both sides. So that's the rear of the car, or the lower rear of the car. Down underneath, we've pulled the 2 main engine cooling pipes. I've also done the 2 pipes that go into the interior, so for the heater matrix. What else? There's a brake line coming through down here as well. Again, I've just sliced that one. And yeah, these are the bolts down here that we're going to have to remove to drop the subframe from that side. So I think that's it from underneath. The fuel lines were coming up over the top. So yeah, so the fuel line's coming up over the top of the car. So inside here, we've disconnected the throttle cable, unplugged something from the loom just here, goes across. I've unbolted the expansion tank because that was on the rear bulkhead here, the boot. We've taken or unbolted this, was down here. Some little 10mm holding that in, and we've got the main master start relay as well as the ECU. So just disconnected that from the engine. We've also got the fuel lines coming in, so just quick connect fuel lines. So one into the little evaporator tank, one into the inlet. I've also, the airbox is just pushed out of its little mounts. This was the fuel filter we've disconnected. I think that was about it. Yeah, and the gear selector cable, one of them comes over the top, one of them was down the bottom. So the gear selectors were connected here and here, so to pivot the little PG1 gearbox around a bit. So you can see the mount was just there, so that went up to the top. The other mount was just here, and here are the 2 cables. So that's it. I don't think there's anything else really that's gonna foul. Well, we'll see. So what I'll do, we'll get the pallet truck underneath. We'll use the pallet truck to lift the whole of the car on that rear subframe. We'll lift it all in the air and get these axle stands ratcheted up a bit higher. Lift this thing up properly, as I don't think we've got anything in here that we need to get to. And if not, I'll just have to sort of clamber up or something like that. So we'll see what happens. Okay, let's get the pallet truck out and get a bit of wood. All right. All right. Is that it? I don't know. We've got a little bit of wiring, I think, that I missed. It. Go. Whoops. So we've got these mounting points at the rear here, which the roll bar also connects onto, so going across, and then we've also got at the front these mounting points just here. So probably nothing like the back of a Zoe underneath, obviously, but we will see. So engine out on subframe with gearbox, yeah, ready to go in the back of a Zoe. Why not? Okay. Right. So first off, we need to disconnect the handbrake cable. That's the handbrake cable disconnected. I've got a sensor of some description. Nice. So that's the rear end of a Zoe. So there's your rear axle, whatever you want to call it, rear beam. So with the Zoe's rear end out the way, this is what we've got to play with. So immediate thoughts. So we've got a nice hole here, obviously, but then we've got a cross member running all the way across, right where basically that engine needs to go. So we've got to chop that cross member out. We might be able to chop it out and then, depending on what this thing looks like, move it down here. I don't know, whatever. That's good though, right? Loads of room. Just needs a bit more height. So yeah, soon to be a two-seater, this Renault Zoe, I think. So there we go. We've got we've got an empty Zoe with no rear in it, and we've got a rear of a nice little MGF over there. So yeah, next thing is to try and bolt them together and see if I can get it to somehow attach itself in here. We'll see what happens. In the rear of this thing, so we've got kind of like a raised box section here with the seat mounts on, and I'm guessing below here is that sort of structural bar that we see going across. Now, because of where this engine sits, and the centre line here, we don't need much back here, basically. So what we need to do is take out a section across here, I guess, sort of halfway. Yeah, I'll do something like that, and we'll leave this rear section in here because we might be able to put that sort of strengthening bar back in across there, which will give us something to mount our rear subframe to. What I should really do is measure this thing up properly. Yeah, probably could do with planning this a bit better rather than just sort of attacking it and angle grinding off the bat, right? So tempted. So what's interesting about these subframe mounts into the chassis, they are actually bolted in, a couple of beastie bolts. So we could remove those, and then we've got a good flat mounting point to make something up. Or steal the bit off the MG, I guess. So lined up, these things are not bramble bin. So looking at these two, we're not a million miles off. So what I'm thinking is, can I cut these off here? I've got this circular bit here, and then chop this here, obviously other way around because it's the other one, and then slide that over there, put a bolt through, put a load of welds. The problem bit I can see is the distance from here to here versus the distance from here to here. So, because I think this pivot actually needs to be about there, which ain't gonna work. Need the tape measure. Right. Bit better. So we've still got a heap load to sort out. I think the next stage is to get the angle grinders to the rear of this ZOE and cut out some of this interior. We can just generally get the whole thing vaguely in the place we want it, and then I can mess around with these subframe mounts and see what's going to vaguely work or not. Thanks for watching. More stupid content coming soon. Cheers.